about it. As I mentioned to the Prime Minister, the rest of the premiers, we need to be ready. We need to be ready to fight. This fight is coming 100% on January the 20th or January 21st. We don't know what extent this fight's going to go to, but we need to line up everything that we're going to tariff and make sure that the tariff, the money that's coming from these tariffs, don't go into a federal bank account sitting there somewhere. It needs to be immediately distributed right across the province equally, and we'll be able to support the companies, the factories, the workers for any issues that they're facing at the time. So it's a good start.
Did he give you any details of where those retaliatory tariffs would be aimed on American goods?
No, Chrystia Freeland's going to put a list together. We're going to put our list together, and I'm sure the other provinces will as well. But we will go to the full extent, depending how far this goes. We will go to the extent of cutting off their energy, going down to Michigan, going down to New York State, and over to Wisconsin. I don't want this to happen, but my number one job is to protect Ontarians and Canadians as a whole, since we're the largest province.
Ontario's Premier Doug Ford is firing back at Donald Trump, along with other provincial leaders in Canada, telling Donald Trump to go stick it, that they're willing to cut off the power supply, the electricity that makes things go in America that come from Canada, in retaliation for Donald Trump trying to impose 25% tariffs on it. You just heard Doug Ford there basically telling Donald Trump that if he takes on Canada, Canada is ready. Ontario first. Let's talk about Donald Trump and his tariff policies and the strong will, steel spine of Doug Ford and others in Canada right here on Legal AF and MeidasTouch. You've heard a lot about different provincial leaders and different leaders and prime ministers of Canada coming forward to tell Donald Trump in no uncertain terms that we have something you need. We have something that makes the American economy go and grow, and willing to cut it off. Let me put some numbers up on the board so you understand, if you didn't already, the importance of Canada to the American economy. 60% of all imported oil into America comes from Canada. 1.5 million U.S. homes alone get their electricity from Ontario by themselves. 35 states in the United States have their primary trading partner is Canada. Michigan, New York State, Wisconsin get a majority of their electricity from our relationship with Canada. Crude oil, petroleum, electricity, uranium, and 34 other strategic minerals and natural resources on the Pentagon list come from our neighbor to the Great White North and Canada. That's why when the Ontario Prime Minister, Doug Ford, speaks, people listen. He was on a call, we got that clip there, he was on a call with Trudeau, Prime Minister, in which a lot of the provincial leaders were saying, we don't want a trade war with the United States, but we know how to ground it to a halt if it happens on January 20th or January 21st, right? They're hoping for the best, but planning for the worst. And that's what you got to do with Donald Trump's threats. Now, they are willing to do some things around the border to satisfy Donald Trump, and I guess that's an okay thing if that's what the Canadians felt like they needed to do. But at the very end, we can't F with Canada. There's no other way to put it. We are not only joined at the hip, we are joined at the border. And they have the bounty of resources and electricity and petroleum and other natural resources that, frankly, we don't have anymore. Even if we ever did, from a geological standpoint, it all sits with our neighbors to the north. And any president that comes into office that thinks he's going to screw with Mexico and Canada and China on the first day, I mean, right away, you're looking at him breaking all of his promises to the American people about trying to fix the economy. Gas prices going up 30 to 40 cents a gallon, almost upon arrival. And say nothing about everything else in the American economy that's fueled by electricity and power. That's why I love the fact that the Canadians are flexing their muscle. They get a lot of grief. I gave a criticism about Trudeau coming down and doing that photo op with Donald Trump. But at the end of the day, they're in the right, we're in the wrong, and they've got to not only speak truth to power, but threaten power with a lack of power, with a cutoff of power. I love that Doug Ford says, basically turns the phrase on its head, it's Ontario and Canada first. Sovereignty in their own countries. In this global economy, they have what we need and we're willing to pay for it. Donald Trump, on the day of his New York Stock Exchange moment, the corporate media reported it as, oh, it's a great day for Donald Trump. He got to ring the bell at the stock exchange and he was on the cover of Time magazine. Except while he was in the New York Stock Exchange, he was asked about the trade wars. And he said, and he responded to Doug Ford, Premier Ford. And he said, I don't take that seriously. We shouldn't subsidize Canada any longer. We've been carrying Canada's water for too long. And then he came up with some number that was like a made up number, $100 billion of American subsidies. Now, that's not true. What I think he's referring to is that there is a current trade imbalance of about $75 billion, which is relatively small given the other states. I know it sounds like a lot, but when it comes to trade imbalance, meaning we are buying from them, Canada, $75 billion more than they're buying from us, but the total trade across the border is over $700 billion. It's a lot. So we're only talking about 10% delta or differential. Now, the reason for that is not because the Canadians are price gouging or they're not buying enough. It's because what they're selling to the Americans is really, really expensive. Energy, petroleum prices, electricity. These are things that are not widgets that cost pennies to create. Hydroelectric dams and solar and wind and petroleum and things that go into creating electricity and transmitting electricity across great distances in order to power our economy costs money. And the market sets the price. It's market pricing. If we didn't think the price that Canada was charging us to import oil was fair, we'd go somewhere else. If we didn't think the electricity in some of these states, if we didn't think the electricity was fair priced by market, we'd go somewhere else. If we could. If we can't, then we should be a lot nicer and kinder to our neighbors in the north. Because I don't want to, let me be honest here. I don't want to piss off Doug Ford. I really don't. Or Trudeau or anybody else in Canada. I want our Canadian neighbors and our cousins to the north and us to get along great. We need, we're like one giant appliance that's just an energy suck that needs to be plugged into a wall in order to operate. That's the American economy. Whether you're talking about the amount of wattage and power needs for the technology industry, the cryptocurrency mining industry alone would bankrupt a medium-sized country, the amount of power that's necessary in order to create crypto, which Donald Trump puts all of his emphasis on. Nothing goes in the American economy from technology to cryptocurrency to any factory or manufacturing, auto manufacturing, or the like without power. And we are without power if we screw up our relationship with Canada. They know it, and we should know it. And if we don't know it, it's malpractice. Is that who's being swept into power along with Donald Trump? A bunch of people who failed the economics class in high school or college, who don't understand the macro and microeconomics of power and energy and how it works, and who's in the driver's seat. Threats and thumping your chest may work to scare off a few, people in the criminal justice system from doing the right thing, or a few senators to get them to confirm some of your wacko Senate picks or cabinet picks. It's not going to work with countries and their sovereignty, ones that we desperately need. Think of the statistics. Tomorrow, 60% of our oil import from Canada disappears. Tomorrow, millions and millions of homes and factories no longer get electricity they've relied on from Canada. We lose 34 strategic minerals and natural resources we need in the war and war effort and to protect us and to make us secure. Overnight, can't be replaced. Where are we going to go to them? To Chile, to Brazil, to some other unstable nation that we can't rely on the way we can rely on our neighbors and cousins to the north in Canada? Whose bright idea was this? That's the problem. There are just no bright ideas coming out of the new Trump administration. We've talked previously about how much of your personal data is out there on the internet for anyone to see. Your name, contact info, social security number, and home address. Even information about your family members, all being compiled by data brokers and sold online. As a person who exists publicly, especially as someone who shares my opinions online, I am hyper aware of safety and security. And privacy matters more than ever. It's easier than ever to find personal information about people online. All this data hanging out there on the internet can have actual consequences in the real world. That's why I decided to give a Delete Me subscription to my wife. Now look, my wife is the handyman in the family and does so many things beautifully, but tech is not one of them. And I worry about her online presence, especially given my work in the media. Giving her a Delete Me subscription made her happy and let me relax. It was the perfect gift. And once I gave it to her, she started using it, and then she realized how insecure she was before and how protected and proactive she felt now. It empowered her. That's why I personally recommend Delete Me. Delete Me is a subscription service that removes your personal info from hundreds of data brokers. Sign up and provide Delete Me with exactly what information you want deleted, and their experts take it from there. Delete Me isn't just a one-time service. Delete Me is always working for you, constantly monitoring and removing the personal information you don't want on the internet. To put it simply, Delete Me does all the hard work of wiping your and your family's personal information from data broker websites. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me, now at a special discount for our listeners and their loved ones. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/legalaf and use promo code legalaf at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/legalaf and enter code legalaf at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/legalaf, code legalaf. And everyone's like, oh, the Biden economy didn't help me. Well, look, I mean, I get that egg prices and food prices were a lot higher at the supermarket and injured a lot of our Americans, and that should have been addressed. The price gouging should have been addressed faster. The economy and giving relief to the economy should have been addressed faster. But it's the same administration that gave out $3 trillion worth of aid to restart the economy in the first place. The leftover feverish price gouging and price inflation that resulted from that, it took a while to start to trend down. It did towards the election, but not fast enough for most Americans who want it now, right now, right? It's instant gratification. Well, instant gratification doesn't work in trade policy. And instant gratification doesn't work in foreign policy or national security policy. And it doesn't work with our relationships and our diplomatic relationships abroad. Yeah? I'm waiting to see, I might have missed it, who the Canadian ambassador is going to be for Donald Trump. He's going to have a lot of breach repair to do, or she, upon arrival. Upon arrival. And I'm glad that Doug Ford, who I've been following for a long, long time, came out as strongly as he did. And the other provincial leaders, you know, they're looking at Trump too, like, we don't want a war over energy, but we got the energy and you don't. So you're gonna lose that war. That means higher unemployment, higher borrowing rates, higher electricity and power numbers. You think your electric bill is high now, or oil bill? Wait till you see what happens during a fight with Canada. 30, 40 cents at the pump, more per gallon, and the like. I'll continue to follow it all right here on MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF. Help us out. Go over to the Legal AF YouTube channel as well and hit the free subscribe button. Help us grow that pro-democracy channel as well. Join me Tuesdays at 8 p.m. on the MeidasTouch Network for Popok Live at the intersection of law and politics all over again. And of course, on our full-length podcast, Legal AF, on Wednesdays and Saturdays, also at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on this YouTube channel. So until my next reporting, I'm Michael Popok. In collaboration with the MeidasTouch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.